Welcome back, scientists. We're officially at 1.4. 1.3 covered the basics of all macromolecules, but now we're diving into carbohydrates and lipids. Are you ready? I'm ready. Let's break these macromolecules down. As I mentioned earlier, carbohydrates are made of sugars, which comprise of carbon, oxygen, and hydrogen. And remember how we were talking about monomers? Well, a carbohydrate monomer has a name, and that name is a monosaccharide. Like glucose, for example, the primary fuel for cellular respiration. They link together via dehydration synthesis, remember, to form polymers, or polysaccharides. Now here's the thing, when carbohydrate monomers turn into polysaccharides, they have two purposes, being structure and energy. In between plants and animals, they store energy a little bit differently, so pay attention. Plants store energy as starch, and animals store it as glycogen. And what are the differences? Well, glycogen in animals just has more branches than starch in plants. Now onto structure. Plants use cellulose, a tough fiber, for their cell walls. And here's the cool part, a tiny difference in their chemical bond, the glycosidic linkage, makes cellulose indigestible for most organisms. Think of carbs as your quick ready energy and plant armor. You didn't think we were done, were you? Nah, we got lipids to cover. Lipids, they're diverse, but they all have one thing in common. They're non-polar, which means they just hate water, like absolutely hate it. And one easy way to remember this is just to remember whenever you put oil on a pan and you try to rinse it off with water, it never works because oil is just hydrophobic and non-polar. Now, the most common form of a lipid is as a triglyceride, a glycerol molecule attached to 3 fatty acid chains. And do not get this confused with glycogen storage. Glycogen storage is short term, but triglyceride, they're for the long term. They pack twice the punch of a carb. Here's where it gets more complicated because fatty acids can be different. Saturated fats have no double bonds, so they are packed very tightly and are solid at room temperature. However, unsaturated fats have one or more double bonds, causing a kink that prevents tight packing, making them liquid. Now that might be the most common, but here's the most essential. The most critical lipid for life is the phospholipid. The really cool part about a phospholipid is that it's amphipathic, meaning it has a hydrophilic polar head and 2 hydrophobic nonpolar tails. This dual nature is why in water they spontaneously form a phospholipid bilayer, the universal structure of the cell membrane. Now, if you had absolutely no idea about what I said, don't worry, I got you. I'll tell you why it has this structure and basically what it is. Cells, such as those in your body, constantly exist in a watery environment, inside and out. So to survive, they need a way to keep the cell's internal chemistry separate from the outside in order to maintain what molecules enter and leave. And to do this, they have the polar heads of the outside phospholipid layer basically interact with the water, while the nonpolar tails prevent any of that water from entering if they don't want to. And how molecules enter the cell will be left for another video. Now, if you're feeling generous and you want a 5 in the exam, then make sure to drop a subscribe because it helps me teach you guys biology. I'll see you in the next one.